एक बार फिर से स्वागत आप सभी का। आगे पढ़ेंगे हम अनाथ पिंडक की स्टोरी। बंटी जी, आपकी अनुमति से आप कुछ कहना चाहेंगे पहले?
तो हमने पिछली बार देखा था कैसे अम, जो एक वॉन्डरिंग लाइफस्टाइल था उसमें एडिशन किया गया. सो द बुद्धा अलाउज द यूज ऑफ dwellings, फिक्स्ड dwellings. सो दैट्स इन टर्म्स ऑफ द एवोल्यूशन ऑफ द संघ, उसको एक सिग्निफिकेंट स्टेप समझा जाता है. आज हम देखेंगे कि जो सबसे बड़े बेनिफैक्टर थे संघ के, अनाथ पिंडक, उनके दो किस्से आते हैं. सो वी लुक एट देम. मोस्टली दे आर डिस्क्रिप्टिव इन नेचर. उसमें शायद कोई बहुत सिग्निफिकेंट धर्मा लर्निंग शायद इन दैट सेंस ना हो. सो क्योंकि पर ये कहानी हमने कई बार सुनी हुई है. अनाथ पिंडिक का जो रोल है in terms of the support of the Sangha is so significant. So we look at these two incidents. And then if there is time, हम एक नया सेक्शन शुरू करेंगे जो कि स्किज्म पर है. जो मतभेद या भेद हो जाता है संघ में, उसके ऊपर है. सो दैट्स अ मच लॉन्गर, मोर इन्वॉल्व्ड chapter, which has, of course, obviously a lot in terms of the actual dharma substance, in terms of lessons for us and so on. So that's roughly how it's going to be today. Yeah? Okay, निखिल. और हम आज अंग्रेजी में ही करेंगे because it's a pretty straightforward narrative.
जी बंटी।
Maybe also, Nikhil, you want to invite others also if they want to read, and thoda gives everyone a chance.
Yeah, that seems to be good idea, Bhanti ji. So, are there any volunteers who would like to read uh, for the forum? Yeah, Prakash ji has raised the hands. All right, Prakash, I shared the screen. You can read it.
Sure.
Yeah, please go ahead.
The account of Anāthapiṇḍika. At that time, the householder Anāthapiṇḍika had a brother-in-law in Rajagೃಹ who was a wealthy merchant. On one occasion, when Anāthapiṇḍika was in Rajagೃಹ on business, that merchant had invited the Sangha headed by the Buddha for the meal on the following day. The merchant was telling his slaves and workers to get up early to cook rice and congee and to prepare various kinds of curry. Anāthapiṇḍika thought, when I have arrived here previously, this householder put aside all his business to greet me. But this time he is all over the place telling his workers what to do. Is he preparing for a wedding or a great sacrifice? Or has he invited King Senia Bimbasara of Magadha and the army for a meal? When the merchant was finished with instructing his workers, he went up to Anāthapiṇḍika, greeted him, and sat down. Anāthapiṇḍika then told him what he had observed and asked him what was happening. The merchant replied, I am not preparing for a wedding, nor have I invited King Senia Bimbasara of Magadha and army. I am preparing for a great sacrifice. I have invited the Sangha headed by the Buddha for a meal tomorrow. Did you say Buddha? I did. Did you say Buddha? I did. Did you say Buddha? I did. It's rare in the world to hear the word Buddha. Is it possible right now to go and visit that Buddha, that fully awakened and perfected one? Now is the wrong time to visit the Buddha. Tomorrow morning is a good time. Because he went to bed preoccupied with Buddha, tomorrow morning I will go and visit that Buddha, that fully awakened and perfected one. He got up 3 times during the night, thinking it was light. Anāthapiṇḍika then went to the Sivaka gate, which was opened by spirits. Then, as he was leaving town, the light disappeared and darkness descended. Paralyzed with fear and getting goosebumps all over, he wanted to turn back. But then the invisible spirit Sivaka spoke up. 100 elephants, 100 horses, 100 carriages drawn by mules, 100,000 girls wearing jeweled earrings. None is worth a 16th part of a single step forward. Go forward, householder, go forward. Going forward is better for you than going back. The light returned, the darkness disappeared, and his fear subsided. A second and a third time the light disappeared, and he was paralyzed with fear, upon which the Spirit proclaimed the same verses. And on the occasions the light returned, the darkness disappeared, and his fear subsided. Anāthapiṇḍika then went to the Sitavana, the cool grove, just gotten up early in the morning. When the Buddha saw Anāthapiṇḍika coming, he
No, you
stepped
left
down.
you left one line. Then the Buddha.
Just just then the Buddha was doing walking meditation outside, having gotten up early in the morning. When the Buddha saw Anāthapiṇḍika coming, he stepped down from the walking path, sat down on the prepared seat, and said, "Come, Sudatta." Anāthapiṇḍika thought, "The Buddha is calling me by name." And glad and joyful he went up to him, bowed down with his head at the Buddha's feet, and said, "Sir, I hope you have slept well." Indeed, he always sleeps well. The Brahmin who is extinguished, who is not soiled among worldly pleasures, but is cool and without ownership. After cutting all attachments, after removing distress from the heart, calmed, he sleeps well, having attained peace of mind. The Buddha then gave him a progressive talk on generosity, morality, and heaven. On the downside, degradation and defilement of worldly pleasures, and he revealed the benefits of renunciation. When the Buddha knew that his mind was ready, supple, and without hindrance, joyful and confident, he revealed the teaching of unique to the Buddhas, suffering, its origin, its end, and the path. And just as clean and stainless cloth absorbs the dye properly, so too, while he was sitting right here, Anāthapiṇḍika experienced the stainless vision of the truth. Anything that has a beginning has an end. He had seen the truth, had reached, understood, and penetrated it. He had gone beyond doubt and uncertainty, had attained to confidence, and had become independent of others in the teacher's instruction. He then said to the Buddha, "Wonderful, sir, wonderful. Just as one might set upright what had been overturned, or reveal what was hidden, or show the way to one who was lost, or bring the lamp into the darkness so that one with eyes might see what is there. Just so as Buddha made the teaching clear in many ways, I go for refuge to the Buddha, the teaching, and the Sangha of monks. Please accept tomorrow's meal from me together with the Sangha of monks." The Buddha consented by remaining silent.
वन लाइन फिर से skip हो गया था.
You see, this and the following verse are also found. Oh, okay. No, I read. Please accept me as a lay follower who's gone for refugee for life. And please accept tomorrow's meal from me together with the Sangha of monk. The Buddha consented by remaining silent. Knowing that Buddha had consented, Anāthapiṇḍika got up from his seat, bowed down, circumambulated the Buddha with his right side toward him and left.
Okay,
The
Prakash, we can pause because the next a new section will now start. So just if people have anything to say, comment, ask. I thought one thing was significant was that Anāthapiṇḍika also seems to have very similar sort of perfections which enable him to access stream entry almost straight away. So just shows us that जैसे हम कई बार हम कहते हैं ना that in lay life it's difficult and so forth, but it really seems to be a question of preparation.
Banteji, what do you mean by preparation here?
Well, just think about it. If a person merely by listening to a teaching is able to be a stream enterer, clearly it means that there is quite a lot of prior cultivation of all of those qualities that it takes to be a stream enterer. So typically it is defined in terms of what is so-called paramitas, but we can see generally speaking it implies that the person has perfected many of those qualities, and then it just needs a little tipping over, which happens when one is listening to especially the Buddha.
Mataji, it also comes out when he first hears the word Buddha and he is so excited by it, which essentially probably depicts his prior cultivation,
Yeah, exactly.
either in this life or the earlier life.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, very good point. Yeah. I mean, even to us, it happens sometimes that you feel a certain resonance, either in, for example, for myself in a certain monastery or in relation to a certain teacher. So yeah, exactly.
I just wanted to ask, he went to the merchant where he asked him, what are you doing and everything. And then he got an idea that he's intending to invite Buddha. Now here, having learned that he is going to be invited by somebody else, then he goes to Buddha and says that, please come to my house. How do you, what do we say about it? If I'm going somewhere and I learn that somebody else, that I also want to call some person, but the other guy has already decided to call him. Is it not jumping the ladder? And then what is this? I could not understand it. What is the big deal in it? I mean,
no, there's no big
My
deal.
understanding is that they are on separate days. They're not on the same day.
no, that is not very clear from the.
No, it's quite clear to me. It's quite clear.
तो आगे पता चल जाएगा रविंद्र जी.
I didn't get it. I think
clear
that
is mentioned, no?
it was colliding with the invitation.
It's mentioned that he asked his brother-in-law कि ये खाना किसके लिए बना रहे हो?
हाँ,
क्या तुम राजा आ रहा है? क्या पता राजा नहीं आ रहा, भगवान बुद्ध और उनकी संग आ रहा है, मैंने उनको खाने पे इनवाइट किया है.
हाँ.
So that is on that day, and on that day early in the morning he goes to meet Buddha and he tells him next day. Very clear.
So that means the Buddha had already gone there and then.
No.
हाँ.
अभी भगवान बुद्ध तो खाना खाने 8 बजे 9 बजे जाएंगे.
हाँ.
Just I'm saying that he goes there at the day break. देखा था अभी सूरज उगा ही नहीं और वो वहां पहुंच जाता है. And then he tells him कि कल आप आइएगा मेरे यहाँ.
तो वो आ चुके हैं वहां पे, वो खाना खा चुके हैं, वापस भी जा चुके हैं एंड देन.
नहीं सुबह का टाइम है, भी लिखा ना अर्ली मॉर्निंग.
हाँ, तो वही तो मैं कह रहा हूँ ना कि
मोनेस्ट्री में है
वही तो इनवाइट कर रहे हैं उनको.
वो मोनेस्ट्री
इसी
में
समय.
वो उनको हाँ उस समय कल के लिए कह रहा है, अगले दिन के लिए. उस दिन तो उनको वहां जाना है ना, उसके ब्रदर इन लॉ के
ये
घर.
मुझे क्लियर नहीं था इसमें से, मतलब ऐसा मुझे लगा नहीं कि ऐसा कुछ
लिखा
क्लियर
होगा
है.
क्लियर.
अच्छा, एनीवे ठीक है.
Anyway, that's I'm just mentioning. It is clear from the account.
अभी उसमें आगे आने वाला है सर, ये मैं भी थोड़ा देख रहा था. इट विल बी क्लियर. लेट्स सी. एक चीज मैं मेंशन करना चाह रहा था, मुझे जो टच किया वो था कि द वन हु स्लीप्स वेल. वो मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा कि भगवान बुद्ध को पूछा कि आप अच्छे से सोए तो उन्होंने क्या चीज बताई है. दिस इज वेरी सटल. सो Bandit ji, with your permission, should I move further? 461 से पढ़ना है आगे. याशिका या कोई और पढ़ना चाहेगा जस्ट एज ए चेंज, और प्रकाश जी वुड कंटिन्यू अदरवाइज. नो प्रॉब्लम.
सॉरी निखिल जी, मुझे निकलना है तो सॉरी.
ऑलराइट, नो प्रॉब्लम.
I can read. Okay.
जी सर, प्लीज.
I hope you can hear me well.
यस सर.
The merchant heard that Anāthapiṇḍika had invited the Sangha headed by the Buddha for the meal on the following day. He said to Anāthapiṇḍika, "You have invited the Sangha headed by the Buddha, yet you have just arrived here. I'll pay for it. There is no need. I have the means." The Householder Association of Rajgarh heard that Anāthapiṇḍika had invited the Sangha headed by the Buddha for a meal on the following day. They said to Anāthapiṇḍika, "You have invited the Sangha headed by the Buddha, yet you have just arrived here. We'll pay for it." "There is no need, sirs. I have the means." King Senia Bimbisara of Magadha heard that Anāthapiṇḍika had invited the Sangha headed by the Buddha for a meal on the following day. He said to Anāthapiṇḍika, "You have invited the Sangha headed by the Buddha, yet you have just arrived here. I'll pay for it." "There is no need, sir. I have the means." The following morning, in that wealthy merchant's house, Anāthapiṇḍika had various kinds of fine foods prepared. He then had the Buddha informed that the meal was ready. The Buddha robed up, took his bowl and robe, and went to the merchant's house, where he sat down on the prepared seat together with the Sangha of monks. Anāthapiṇḍika then personally served the various kinds of fine foods to the Sangha of monks headed by the Buddha. When the Buddha had finished his meal and had washed his hands and bowl, Anāthapiṇḍika sat down to one side and said, "Sir, please spend the rainy season residence at Savatthi together with the Sangha of monks." Buddha's delight in solitude, householder. I understand, sir, I understand." Then, after instructing, inspiring, and gladdening him with the teaching, the Buddha got up from his seat and left. After finishing his business in Rajgarh, Anāthapiṇḍika set out for Savatthi. Now, at that time, Anāthapiṇḍika had many friends and acquaintances who took his advice. On his way to Savatthi, he told people to establish monasteries, build dwellings, and prepare offerings saying, "There is a Buddha in the world. He has been invited by me, and I will be traveling this way." And that is what they did, and will be traveling this way. And that's what they did. When he arrived at Savatthi, Anāthapiṇḍika searched all over the town for a place for the Buddha to stay, thinking, where might the Buddha stay that is neither too far from habitation nor too close, that has good access roads and is easily accessible for people who seek him, that has few people during the day and is quiet at night, that is free from chatter and offers solitude, a private resting place suitable for seclusion. Anāthapiṇḍika saw that Prince Jeta's park had all these qualities. He then went to Prince Jeta and said, "Sir, please give me a park to set up a monastery. I won't give it away even if you cover the park with 10 million coins." "It's a deal." "No, it isn't." They then asked judges to decide in the matter. They said, "Sir, since you gave a price, the park is sold." Anāthapiṇḍika then had gold coins brought out in carts and covered the jade grove with 10 million coins. After yet another load had been brought out, there was still a small area near the gatehouse that was not covered. Anāthapiṇḍika told his people, "Go get more coins. We'll cover this area too." But Prince Jade thought, this must be really worthwhile, seeing as he is giving up so much money. And he said to Anāthapiṇḍika, "That's enough, householder. Don't cover that area. Let me keep it. It'll be my gift." Anāthapiṇḍika thought, Prince Jade is a well-known person. It's very beneficial that such well-known people gain confidence in the spiritual path. And he granted that area to Prince Jade. Prince Jade then had a gatehouse built at that place. But Anāthapiṇḍika had dwellings built in the Jade Grove, and yards, gatehouses, assembly halls, water boiling sheds, food storage huts, restrooms, walking meditation paths, indoor walking meditation paths, wells, well houses, saunas, sauna sheds, ponds, and roof covers.
Okay.
I think this is a good stopping point, perhaps.
Yeah.
Banteji, what was the relationship Anāthapiṇḍika and Buddha in the previous life? Because he was following very close to Buddha.
Yeah,
Any
I don't
chance?
know. Good question. I wonder if someone's read the, I
Yeah.
don't know, the Jataks around this. कुछ धर साहब आपको ख्याल होगा? What's the commentatorial spin on this?
I don't remember anything, to have read anything.
I think generally it's very inspiring how he seems to, just take to uh, such a huge dan, and it's also inspiring. Kaise the other the Prince Jait also, it kind of seems to rub off on him, isn't it? That wow, man, this guy is doing this. There must be something to it. So for me, that's mildly also a lesson that if I remain open and sensitive to my surroundings, then the opportunities for partaking something that's meritorious, etc., are often there. So for me, these two instances were basically, as like I said, very inspiring.
clearly he not only had great parmis, but also was very, very familiar with the significance of a Buddha rising. I think that is because that's what he told everybody on the way. If you want, I can continue.
यस नया सेक्शन स्टार्ट करेंगे वो बंटी जी ने
वो
कोई
एक्चुअली इसी का कंटिन्यूएशन है 360 जो है ना, बिकॉज द बुद्धा इज नाउ गोइंग टू स्टार्ट वॉकिंग, सो बीच में कुछ कुछ चीजें होती हैं विच आर नॉट सो रेलेवेंट टू अस, सो वी कैन नाउ स्किप go to 360 Nikhil, and he will now arrive. So he's in Rajgir as far as I remember. So he's now walking, and a few things happen in between, and now he will arrive in Shravasti, and then this whole thing gets picked up again.
जस्ट अ मिनट
Yeah, okay.
Shall I start?
जी सर
The expression of appreciation for the Jade Grove dwellings. Wandering on, the Buddha eventually arrived at Savatthi, where he stayed in the Jade Grove, Anāthapiṇḍika's park. Anāthapiṇḍika then went to the Buddha, bowed, sat down, and said, "Sir, please accept tomorrow's meal from me together with the Sangha of monks." The can you indicate? And the Buddha consented by remaining silent. Knowing that the Buddha had consented, Anāthapiṇḍika got up from his seat, bowed down, circumambulated the Buddha with his right side towards him, and left. The following morning, Anāthapiṇḍika had various kinds of fine foods prepared. He then had the Buddha informed that the meal was ready. The Buddha robed up, took his bowl and robe, and went to Anāthapiṇḍika's house, where he sat down on the prepared seat together with a Sangha of monks. Anāthapiṇḍika then personally served various kinds of fine foods to the Sangha of monks headed by the Buddha. When the Buddha had finished his meal and had washed his hands and bowed, Anāthapiṇḍika sat down to one side and said, "Sir, what should I do in regard to the Jade Grove?" "You should dedicate the Jade Grove to the Sangha as a whole, both present and future." "Yes, sir." And he did just that. The Buddha then expressed his appreciation with these verses. "Cold and heat are kept away, and so are predatory beasts, and creeping animals and mosquitoes, and also chill and rain. They keep away the wind and burning sun. When those awful things arise, their purpose is to shelter and for happiness, to attain absorption and to see clearly. Giving dwellings to the Sangha is praised as the best by this Buddha. Therefore, the wise man, seeing what is beneficial for himself, should build delightful dwellings and have the learned stay there, food, drink, cloth, and dwellings with an inspired mind. You should give to them the upright ones. They'll give him the teaching for removing all suffering and understanding this teaching in this very life. He attains and understanding this teaching in this very life, he attains extinguishment free of corruptions. The Buddha then got up from his seat and left.
Yeah, okay. So maybe Nikhil, if you can keep it on ना, मेरा एक I wanted to check. उस दरअसल देखिए इसमें आई थिंक ही इज क्वाइट क्लियरली स्पेसिफाइंग कि शेल्टर के प्रति हमारा रवैया क्या होना चाहिए, है ना। जैसे फूड का उन्होंने और जगहों पे हमें बताया है, इट इज नॉट फॉर दिस, नॉट फॉर दैट, नॉट फॉर दैट, बट बेसिकली टू कीप द बॉडी टुगेदर, टू प्रैक्टिस द होली लाइफ, टू प्रैक्टिस ब्रह्मचर्य, इस तरह से बताते हैं ना। अब यहाँ पे वो बता रहे हैं कि द पर्पज इज टू शेल्टर एंड फॉर हैप्पीनेस, to attain absorption and to see clearly. ठीक है ना? This is how I understand he's sort of offering, teaching the right attitude in respect to dwellings. So is that fair then to say that, for example, हम लोग कई बार ऐसे सोचते हैं ना कि it should be something that is bhavya, it should be something that's inspiring and so on and so forth. Is it fair to say that all of those all of those should really be very significantly secondary, to this thing, or rather, actually, this is what we should really be thinking about. And if something that is a shelter and for happiness, to attain absorption and to see clearly, if that also happens to be bhavya and inspiring, it's okay, but that's not the angle. So maybe you can speak a few, you can share your opinion on this basically.
Yeah, the idea of grand structures arose because some of the kings started taking over this. And then therefore they wanted everything to be built according to their perceptions. That the dwelling of a great person, for example, temples may rather than dwellings of temples that they are of God and they should be very grand. So the same concept probably got over into the monasteries also. And even now we can see at some places, people think that, some great people are living, so that dwelling should be better than ours and things of that kind probably. Obviously, the main function is very clearly outlined here. It should be a comfortable place where they can live safely and securely. That's all. It need not be a excessively austere place where they have difficulty even in day-to-day affairs. So they should be able to live comfortably and happily so that they can not be bothered in terms of their practice. Baki bahar ka external grandeur and all is a addition thanks to the kings, because kings started patronizing the Sangha.
Now, on the other hand, he's also saying कि वो इस तरह का होना चाहिए that it's conducive, for example, to absorption. So now, अब हमें अगर for instance if jhan etc. की जो conditions और जगहों पे बताई गई हैं, that it should neither be too hot nor too cold, for example, and there are half a dozen, I remember. So there is also that angle to it कि उसको आप इतना भी मत खींच दो कि you are basically just struggling even to, isn't it? So,
टीन की छत लगा दो दिल्ली में तो हालत खराब हो जाएगी, है ना? So it should be properly built so a person can comfortably sit. That's why it is a middle path, always a middle path. External grandeur doesn't mean, but obviously you should have a place where a person can be practice congenially. आराम से ध्यान करने के लिए, खासतौर पे समाधि के लिए तो बहुत आवश्यक है कि एनवायरनमेंट तो शांत हो, डिस्ट्रैक्शन ना हो, शोर ना हो, कीड़े मकोड़े ना परेशान करें. All those things are there. So those basic requirements are there. इसीलिए शून्यागार का कॉन्सेप्ट बनाया गया कि भाई अलग से एक प्लेस हो जो बिल्कुल साइलेंट है, there's no, and so it's all usually ancient monasteries are built far away from the hustle and bustle of city, किसी पहाड़ के पास या किसी नदी के पास, जैसे आदि बद्री में आप देख सकते हैं how that place is there. Even now, even today, 1500 years after the monastery's extinction, still it is a secluded place. So that has been the culture always. जेतवन विहार अभी भी वहां पे आसपास कोई बस्ती नहीं है, दूर है, का कंपैरेटिवली दूर है. So monasteries were built in that manner.
Bhanteji, I had a question here. Today's monasteries, of which you have a lot of experience, I have none. I have not visited any monastery, so I don't really know. How close do they keep to this general way of thinking? Are they? I hope they are. I mean, are they comfortable enough, but not too comfortable, so that people get into a comfort zone and want to? I just want to. I'm curious. That's all.
Yeah, that was exactly that's what I had in mind जब मैंने ये सवाल पूछा कि सो मैंने तो ये सारी चीज़ें नोटिस की हैं जो जो मैं अभी बता रहा था, है ना. मैंने ये नोटिस किया है कि भाई कई जगह पे ऐसा एक कंसेप्शन हो जाता है इन टर्म्स ऑफ ग्रैंड्योर, एंड ऑफ कोर्स इट्स जस्टिफाइड कि भाई इंस्पिरेशन इंस्पायरिंग होता है, पीपल वांट टू कम एंड सो फोर्थ, है ना. So I've noticed that one of the ways that one of the purposes that often permeates monastery design and so forth now in these days is it's value to inspire people, uh, so to say, with the maqsad ke more people should come, you know. That has, I've noticed that as being a consideration that has now arisen. दूसरा मैंने ये भी नोटिस किया है, सो दैट्स एट वन एंड. दूसरा मैंने ये भी नोटिस किया है कि हमारे कई जैसे सीनियर टीचर्स होते हैं, मंक्स होते हैं, एज यू नो दे ऑल हैव यूनिक पर्सनालिटीज, है ना, कैरेक्टर्स. अब कई बार ऐसा होता है दैट इफ द की टीचर has, for example, had the character of इसको हम fierce कहते हैं, fierce character. So often they would live very austerely, and जो उस पीढ़ी, उस lineage में डाउनस्ट्रीम आते हैं, मैंने नोटिस किया है कि in often austerity can be um, um, sort of extolled for the sake of austerity itself. So I've also noticed that sort of a thing, um, and I don't know frankly कि अब कितना इस जमाने में इस तरह से टेक्स्ट्स को देखा जाता है, एंड गाइडेंस इज टेकन फ्रॉम टेक्स्ट्स. I'm not so sure. So I've noticed both these ends, and of course there are a lot in between as well. ऐसा नहीं है कि नहीं है, but I don't know कि जिस तरह से हम देख रहे हैं इसको, इस तरह से देख के monastery design वगैरह की जाए. Often, like I said, my observation is that जो भी मेन डोनर या स्पॉन्सर या बनाने वाले होते हैं, दे हैव देयर ओन ideas, and often it gets spun around that. That's one of the things I've noticed.
Makes sense. Thank you.
एंड भंते जी जो भोजन पिंडपात है, एज पर मतलब भिक्षुक के लिए वो लोग 12 बजे के पहले सॉलिड फूड लेते हैं, उसके बाद फिर वो नहीं लेते हैं, या लिक्विड फूड्स तो अलाउड है? इज इट लाइक दैट, लाइक
हाँ,
फ्रूट
वो एक
जूस?
पूरा सेक्शन हमने स्किप कर दिया जिसमें सारी डिटेलिंग है कि किस तरीके से क्या चीज़ें अलाउेबल हैं 12 बजे के बाद, उसके क्या व्हाट आर द conditions for that. But just to make it very simple, mainly 12 बजे के बाद आइडिया ये है कि I mean I think you remember that the fundamental point is not के the fundamental point was कि सारा भोजन जो है वो भिक्षाटन से इकट्ठा किया जाता था. So आप भिक्षा उस समय मांगे जब जो देने वाला है उसके लिए सबसे सरल है देना. और ऐसा एक प्रसंग आता है दैट इन द बिगिनिंग व्हेन द रूल्स weren't there, the monks would go out शाम को भी भिक्षा लेने, and somebody, and there was no electricity etc obviously. So the monks were mistaken for either robbers or ghosts and so forth and actually got beaten up. या ऐसा कुछ है, I don't remember the exact detail. तो तब से ये रूल बना भाई आप 12 बजे तक खाने पीने का जो करना है कर लो. और उसके बाद all that is permissible is in terms of fruit juices and 5 kinds of tonics, sugar, oil, ghee, butter, honey. इस तरह से कुछ टॉनिक्स परमिट किए गए, और कुछ चीज़ें जिनको आप दैट हैव अ मेडिसिनल वैल्यू, है ना. सो फॉर एग्जांपल आंवला हो गया, या कोको हो गया, and things of that sort. So कुछ categories बना दी गई. So that's what you can take after 12 till the next sunrise. और उसका मकसद ये है कि आपका एक्चुअल न्यूट्रिशन तो आपका हो गया है, बट नेचुरली कभी कभी बॉडी फील्स वीक एंड सो फोर्थ. सो उस वीकनेस की जो अनप्लेजेंट फीलिंग है उसको एसोएज करने के लिए कुछ हल्का सा आप सपोर्ट ले लो. तो ये प्रिंसिपल था, एंड that's how it's done now.
ओके. क्योंकि ये भंते जी मुझे बहुत साइंटिफिक भी लगा. आई मीन लेटली मैंने थोड़ा रिसर्च कर रहा था कि लाइक मेरा मेरा बॉडी शेप में मेरा टमी स्लाइटली बाहर है, तो आई वाज जस्ट सर्चिंग कि इसको कैसे कम करना है. तो बाद में इंटरमिटेंट फास्टिंग, और उसमें भी जो उन्होंने बोला कि हमको करीब 12 से 14 घंटे खाली पेट ही रहना है, जो साइंस बोलने लगा है, उनको नोबेल प्राइज भी मिला है. बुद्धा हैड सेड ऑलरेडी दिस थिंग. सो आई वाज जस्ट वंडरिंग कि ये कितने साइंटिफिक रहता है. एंड मैं कभी कभी ट्राई भी करता हूँ, तो वो इसलिए मैं पूछना चाह रहा था कि मैं क्या लेना चाहिए. सो आई गॉट इट. सो दिस इज
तो
वेरी
अभी
नाइस.
मैंने थोड़ा सा अभी जिक्र किया ना कि एक्चुअली द बुद्धा's टीचिंग इज कि हम भोजन को इस दृष्टिकोण से ना देखें. भोजन का मकसद अपने आप को, शरीर को सुंदर या अट्रैक्टिव बनाना नहीं है. भोजन का मकसद, उसमें कई क्राइटेरिया हैं जो भोजन का मकसद नहीं है. भोजन का केवल एक ही मकसद है कि शरीर को धर्म के मार्ग पे चलने योग्य रखे. दैट्स बेसिकली द पर्पस. सो that it is scientific or not scientific and so forth. So for example, there are many things that we do जो कि जो भी करंट समझ है, एंड रिमेंबर जो करंट समझ है वो भी बदलती रहती है. उसके अनुसार तो बिल्कुल उल्टा है. हम लोग शाम को जूस पीते हैं फॉर एग्जांपल. कई बार कई लोग हमारे यहाँ आते हैं जो कि कई जो करंट सिस्टम्स हैं नेचुरोपैथी वगैरह को कहते हैं अरे ये आप क्या कर रहे हो, बट दैट्स परमिसिबल, है ना. But maybe it's not in line with whatever is the current understanding. So I think we should have the understanding कि भगवान बुद्ध का मकसद क्या था ये सब करने में. Now it may have resonance with some current understanding or it may not. Also remember ये जो current चीजें हैं, अब fasting अच्छी है, I bet you that in 1 year you'll have new research will show कि यार ये इसमें दिक्कत हो जाती है, and so forth. These are all evolving and changing things. So if somebody feels कि भाई मुझे शरीर मेरा ज़्यादा भारी है या ज़्यादा हल्का है, whatever, उसके लिए कुछ करना है, yeah, we should do it. That's fine. But not try to sort of fit जो भगवान बुद्ध की टीचिंग है into any or all prevailing fads, yeah, prevailing understanding, and so on. At least I don't feel the need, to do that personally. But sure, of course, we should all look after our bodies, absolutely, with the purpose of being able to practice the path. At least that's how I have understood the teaching.
उसकी चैंट भी करते हैं ना, भिक्षुओं की 4 मूलभूत आवश्यकताओं का विवेचन जब करते हैं, तो वो चैंट है।
इंटरेस्टिंग थिंग है सर कि वेदनाएं तो होती है ना, मतलब ये बात सच है कि अगर आप देखेंगे तो बॉडी की नीड एक टाइम के फूड से पूरी हो सकती है, लेकिन वेदनाएं तो होती है, और कई बार इतनी ज्यादा ओवरपावरिंग होती है कि अगर आप उसको फॉलो नहीं करते हो तो आप मेंटली अपसेट रह जाते हो। ये तो फिक्स है कि उतनी कैलोरीज हमें मिल जाएंगी वंस एक बार के सॉलिड फूड से, तो वो ही बात है कि अ, फिर वो जो हम उन वेदनाओं से हम कितना उनको झेलें और कितना उनको सेटिस्फाई करें, ये हो जाता है।
भगवान ने कहा है ना कि वेदनाएं ना हो इसीलिए भोजन करना है। इस समय भूख की वेदनाओं को समाप्त करने के लिए, और भविष्य में वेदनाएं ना हो उतना भोजन कर ले, उतना भोजन कर ले, जब आवश्यकता हो उतना कर ले, फिनिश्ड। व्हाई मेक ए प्रॉब्लम आउट ऑफ इट? देयर इज नो नीड टू बिकम काइंड ऑफ रिजिड अबाउट एनीथिंग। जो मेरी शरीर की आवश्यकता है उसको मैं समझूं, उसके लिए मुझे आई शुड हैव द एबिलिटी टू look at my body carefully and not get carried away by the taste. That's the only thing. Basically, the body has its own intelligence. It will tell you, यार ये मत खाओ, ये खा लो। तो बहुत ज़्यादा इसको फूड को फैट बनाना भी मैं करके देख चुका हूँ। इट्स प्रॉब्लम। यू शुड टेक ए न्यूट्रिशियस हेल्दी डाइट, डिसाइड कर लें कि कोई भी पैथी फॉलो कर ले, आयुर्वेदा, मॉडर्न फूड, वन समथिंग, बट नॉट गिव सो मच इम्पोर्टेंस टू इट कि हम उसी में फंसे रह जाएं। क्या मुझे ये खाना है कि नहीं खाना, वो खाना है कि नहीं खाना, कहीं जा रहे हैं तो वहां पर प्रॉब्लम क्रिएट कर रहे हैं लोगों के लिए। आई यूज टू डू दैट फॉर लॉन्ग टाइम। There's no point.
Okay,
Body's
that's
health is very strongly in the modern times, much more strongly influenced by mental state. अगर आपकी mental state tense है, परेशान है, depressed है, excited है, body will get into trouble anyway. You do whatever you like. And if the mind is pleased and happy and placid and calm and equanimous, naturally you'll choose food just for the purpose, जैसे उसमें 4 मूलभूत आवश्यकताओं में लिखा गया है, सिर्फ उसी लिए खाएंगे और कुछ नहीं खाएंगे, अपने आप बॉडी विल कम टू इक्विलिब्रियम। हाँ, किसी को कोई रोग लग गया है तो ऑब्वियसली यू हैव टू कंसिडर डॉक्टर, टेक द एडवाइस, दैट्स फाइन। जो हमारे 4 मूलभूत आवश्यकताएं हैं ना, उसको विवेचन को याद रखना बड़ा बहुत हेल्पफुल है। उसमें रहने की जगह के बारे में भी है, भोजन के बारे में भी है, कपड़ों के बारे में भी है, मेडिसिन के बारे में भी है। वेरी ब्यूटीफुल है। इट्स एप्लीकेबल टू ऑल ऑफ अस, नॉट जस्ट टू भिक्षुस, इट्स एप्लीकेबल टू ऑल ऑफ अस। So maybe you could just study, read and chant that out. If Banteji permits.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at, It's exactly what I was looking at. फूड में वो कहते हैं ना आमोद प्रमोद, ना अहंकार बढ़ाने के लिए, और ना किसी प्रकार की सजावट के लिए, केवल अपनी काया की देखरेख, पोषण और स्वास्थ्य के लिए, और ब्रह्मचर्य जीवन में सहायता के लिए। इस ऐसे विचार करके इससे पुरानी भूख की वेदनाएं समाप्त होंगी और नई वेदनाएं उत्पन्न नहीं होंगी, जिसमें मेरी जीवन यात्रा जिससे मेरी जीवन यात्रा दोष रहित और सुखमय होगी. So that's the attitude with respect to food.
Yes, this discussion was helpful. Thank you, sir. But I have started, थोड़ा सा शाम के समय कम खाना या छोड़ देना. I feel light when I wake up in the morning, so I can feel that, and I appreciate the Buddha's ways. When I
Good.
wake up, I'm feeling light.
Mhm. Is this section over? पूरा हो गया? कुछ और बचा है इसमें?
ये वाला सेक्शन तो हो गया सर. इसके बाद वैसे बंटी जी ने और भी बोला है नेक्स्ट सेक्शन.
अभी हम नेक्स्ट नाइट शुरू करेंगे. नेक्स्ट वाला इज काफी लंबी चौड़ी महाभारत है बिल्कुल, तो इसलिए
नेक्स्ट सेक्शन क्या है? जस्ट टाइटल क्या है?
मेरे साहब स्किज्म वाला है.
ओहो,
हाँ, वो काफी इट्स गॉट अ लॉन्ग.
इधर तो रिजर्वेशन ऑफ सीट्स लिखा है.
हाँ,
389
मैंने
पेज पर.
नहीं नहीं
अच्छा,
नहीं,
आपने जो सिलेक्ट किया है.
तुम पिंक वाले में जाओ ना. मैंने तुम्हें पेज नंबर भेजा है, निखिल देखना जरा
जी
उसको.
जी बंटी जी, बस वहीं पहुंचे.
That is quite contentious. उसमें तो there
थ्री
was
एट
issues
नाइन
of dhamma involved in it.
हाँ, एक्चुअली उसमें मोर देन कंटेंशियसनेस देयर इज सो मच लर्निंग धर साहब हमारे लिए, है ना, कि किस तरह से हमारे आइडियाज बनते हैं, क्या करते हैं. सो देयर इज लॉट ऑफ रिचनेस इन इट एक्चुअली. द एक्चुअल किजन थिंग तो काफी आगे चल के आएगा, बट उसके बिल्डअप में देयर इज लॉट ऑफ रिचनेस ऑलरेडी.
Good. ठीक.
मे बी वी कैन डू दिस चैंटिंग, ये वाली जो है अपनी मूलभूत वाली क्योंकि हम वो मुद्दे पे आए हैं. मे बी इट्स अ गुड थिंग टू
Yeah.
डू दैट. हिंदी, इंग्लिश, पाली.
भिक्षुओं की 4 मूलभूत आवश्यकताओं का विवेचन. हांदामयं तं खड्गपत्रवेखन पाठं गणामसे. आए हम उस प्रतिक्षण विवेचन का पाठ करें. पठि संख्यायो निशो चीवरं पठि सेवामि. यावदेव शीतस्य पठिघाताय पुण्यस्य पठिघाताय दंशमकसवाता तपसिरिं सप संपत्सानं पठिघाताय. यावदेव हृदि कोपिं पठिच्छादनर्थं. बुद्धिमत्ता से विवेचन करके मैं चीवर का उपयोग करता हूँ. केवल सर्दी गर्मी से बचने के लिए, मक्खी मच्छर और सरीसृप प्राणियों, वायु और धूप के ताप से बचने के लिए, एवं शारीरिक मर्यादा रखने के लिए. पठि संख्यायो निशो पिंडपातं पठि सेवामि. नेवतवाय न मदाय न मण्डनाय न विभूषणाय. यावदेव इमस्य कायस्य तृतीया यापनाय विहिंसु परधिया ब्रह्मचर्या अनुग्रहाय. इति पुराणं च वेदनं पठिहंकामि. नवं च वेदनं न उपादेशामि. यात्रा च मे भविष्यति अनवच्छता च पाशु विहारो चापि। बुद्धिमत्ता से विवेचन करके मैं भोजन का उपयोग करता हूँ, न आमोद प्रमोद, न अहंकार बढ़ाने के लिए और न किसी प्रकार की सजावट के लिए, केवल अपनी काया की देखरेख, पोषण और स्वास्थ्य के लिए और ब्रह्मचर्य जीवन में सहायता के लिए। ऐसा विचार करके कि इससे पुरानी भूख की वेदनाएं समाप्त होंगी और नई वेदनाएं उत्पन्न नहीं होंगी, जिससे मेरी जीवन यात्रा दोष रहित और सुखमय होगी। पटिसंखा योनिसो सेनासनं पटिसेवामि यावदेव शीतस्य पटिघाताय। पुण्यस्य पटिघाताय दंशमकस्वाता तप्सिंसप् संपत्सानं पटिघाताय यावदेव उतु पर्यस्य विनोदनं पटिसल्लानारामर्थम्। बुद्धिमत्ता से विवेचन करके मैं शयन और आसन का उपयोग करता हूँ, केवल सर्दी और गर्मी से बचने के लिए, मक्खी मच्छर सरीसृप प्राणियों से बचने के लिए, हवा धूप के ताप और ऋतु के प्रभाव से बचने के लिए और एकांत में रहने के लिए। पटिसंखा योनिसो गिलानि पच्यवेसज्ज परिक्खारं पटिसेवामि यावदेव उत्पन्नानं वैयावादिकानं वेदानानं पटिघाताय अव्यापज्य परमता याति। बुद्धिमत्ता से विवेचन करके मैं रोग के लिए उपयुक्त सहायता और औषधि का सेवन करता हूँ। रोग से उत्पन्न हुई कष्टदायक वेदनाएं दूर करने के लिए और व्याधि से पूर्णतया मुक्त होने के लिए। एक प्रश्न आया है चैट में, यशिका जी ने लिखा, फूड से अहंकार कैसे बढ़ता है?
Just recall the marriage parties. What is the purpose of putting 40 dishes there?
Is this answer your question, Yashika? Yeah, okay. थैंक यू सर। क्लोजिंग चैट्स के लिए बंटी जी से निवेदन करता हूँ।
Okay, so maybe always remember the basic motivation behind जो भी हमारी रोज़मर्रा की सामान्य इस्तेमाल की चीज़ें हैं, and may we have the wisdom to always keep those in line with dharma. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantam Abhivademi Swakhato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namassami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savak Sangho Sanghang Namami.
आइए बंटी जी को भी 3 बार नमन करें। नमन, द्वितीय नमन, तृतीय नमन। धन्यवाद आप सभी का। हैव अ नाइस डे।
धन्यवाद। प्रणाम।